5 to 12. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's event. The event is titled The Road to Middle Income, Bangladesh's Growth Story, brought to you by the Center for Enterprise and Society. আমি খুব সংক্ষিপ্ত করে I'll just introduce the center, CES. We are one of the two research centers at ULab, and in many ways we're quite unique because in addition to researching on business, by business I mean the greater economy, all the different sectors that make up the economy, we also try to study the intersection of business and society. Society bolte ek khetre we're talking about citizens, we're talking about CSR, we're talking about the environment. So essentially we have this notion that, a sustainable business is important because business cannot sustain without a society. So we try to sort of look at a wide range of topics in our researches, in our events such as these. CSR সম্বন্ধে ছোট introduction আরেকটা purpose হচ্ছে যে we are a hub within ULab. So we do encourage every one of you, whether it's students who are interested as interns to work with CES or faculty members, especially from the business school, to reach out to us whenever. We are happy to accommodate a wide variety of interests in our publications and activities.
Thank you, Rana. I still have 15 seconds to say good morning. Very good morning. Thank you very much, ULab Center for CES, for inviting me today to speak on a very interesting topic called the road to middle income. I will basically talk about the growth story as I've seen it, and I will sort of narrate a story as I have grown up along the way. Bangladesh, which was independent when from the fourth row onwards you were not born, was known as a bottomless basket. A bottomless basket because whatever you put in got down. And that country today is being regarded, respected by people like our cricket, not to be just thrown away. So there has been tremendous growth that has happened in the last 40 plus years. And if we look back how we achieved it, how we did it, I will at a point of my storytelling give you some numbers, but those are only numbers. It has happened because of people. It has happened because of you all sitting here, because we learn to dream and we learn to get there. I do a lot of speaking on investment, incoming investment to Bangladesh, and I get a lot of challenges onto that on a question answer session. And if you really look at it, if you really think that why Bangladesh today is struggling to get in investments, whereas Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar for that matter of fact, people are rushing into there. Is it our image problem? Is it something that we are not doing right? Is it because we are not geographically correctly located? Is it because we don't have enough savings to grow? There are many number of questions that comes up. Most of that comes up in debates are on governance, our transparency, our judicial system, our legal system, accounting system. And I have a question for that too. How much of governance, transparency, fairness in our legal system is in China, is in Vietnam, is in Cambodia? Foreign investors talk, or our local investors talks about security. Yes, there is alarming signs of certain security issues happening in Bangladesh. The government prefers to ignore it and say there is nothing there. The critics prefer to say there is a growth of terrorism coming to this country. But as a nation, we may not be Buddhist, but we are nearly there. We are calm, we are not a terrorist nation. So where are we going wrong? So we blame the infrastructure. We blame the difficulty in doing business. Bangladesh has slid down 2 notches in World Bank survey of ease of doing business from 175 to 177. I guess I may not be correct on that. It's not because we did badly, we got high numbers, but because others did better than us who were behind us. Much better than us who were behind us, that has brought them above us. That's why we are staying down. The biggest challenge in that report I was just passing through was setting up a business, which is a register of joint stock companies, and getting power connection. Was the biggest two challenges that got us down. Saying about that, I will take you off to a bit of a history, which I can't keep memorized, so I'll just read out that part, and which will tell you where we were. In 1972, our GDP was $6 billion US. 75, $19.4 billion. So if we break it down to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000, the 10, I will show you this through numbers. The growth actually kicked off after 2000. Because in 2000, we were $55 billion. Today we are nearly $200 billion, with Thailand being $300 billion. But Thailand has reaching a middle-income country because they have less population than us, which takes them to close to $4,000 per capita income, which doesn't. But if you look at per capita income, in 72, we are at $100 per capita income. In 90, we were 220. In 2000, we were 380. Today, we are talking about $1,400. $1,400 brings us to the range of middle-income group. But আগে যেটা কথা বলতো না মধ্যবিত্ত, নিম্ন মধ্যবিত্ত, উচ্চ মধ্যবিত্ত. So we are in the নিম্ন মধ্যবিত্ত or the নিম্ন lower middle income group with a desire and dream to actually get there, which is the middle income group, which is the $4,000 range. If you look at our reserves, we were $1.31 billion reserve in 2000. $1.31 billion reserves in 2000. It is $27 billion in 2015 September. My guesstimation, much against the experts of Bangladesh Bank's forecast, is we're going to hit 30 billion end of the financial calendar year. 30 billion is 8.8 months import, which means we are being lazy. Now, why is that happening? Again, there's a lot of debate on that. Is it because we're doing fantastic as an economy? Well, we've been lucky as an economy. Luck has also favored us. I mean, petroleum prices are now at $30 a barrel. Commodities are down. So our exports flow have dropped slightly, but the remittances kept on coming in. That's why we are getting these reserves. Now, what are we doing with it? Are we really ready to grow at the speed we are supposed to grow? 2021 is our target to get into middle income. It's good to have targets. Now I'll bring back cricket because yesterday Bangladesh won with Zimbabwe, and which excites people in Bangladesh. And Indians are known to be fanatics about cricket, but I see now Bangladesh are much more fanatic than Indians are about cricket. And if you have seen this year, which is 2015, every one-day series Bangladesh has won. With Pakistan, with South Africa, with India, and a lot of people tell me that Australia did not come because they're scared they lose. But that's a bit too much of an ambition to dream of, because we are not playing one day, we're playing test with them. So if we look at this ambition of 2021, to reach middle income, what do we need? Very simple question. We have grown very well. We have continued to grow at 6.25% on average of 7 years on the GDP. Is that good enough? Why I bring in cricket is all a question of run rates. If you have to make 300 runs from the first ball on a 50 overs match, you're asking for 5, 6 or 30. So 6 runs an over. After 25 overs, if you have done 120, your run rate moves. And the last 10 overs, your run rate could be 32 per over asking. Is that possible? That's the question we're going to deal with today. To reach That target, we got to do 10%. From 16 onwards, till 21, 5 years of time, 10%. And that is something like scoring 28 runs and over to win the match. Now, will 10% happen or not happen is a debatable question. To reach 8%, we need to at least reinvest 20 to 25% of our GDP back every year. Can we manage that on our own? Do we have the savings growing at that rate? Can Bangladesh manage that on its own? If it can't, what you need is simple, FDI, foreign direct investment, call it debt, call it equity. It can come in both the forms. Now, what are the hurdles for that to come, and why doesn't that also come in? It's only because somewhere down the line, some bureaucracy for the love of the country is holding back. We blame them. But is it actually that? Is it only the bureaucracy? Is it only the laws? Is it only the regulation? Yes, there are certain issues of the laws and the regulation. We have a myopic attitude and a myopic outlook towards the microeconomy, because that's called micro and the macro. Currently, because the banking system has a lot of liquidity, I can see a banker sitting right out over here who's ready to say that it's not a good thing you're preaching, has a lot of liquidity. The regulation of the Board of Investment keeps on tweaking. And these tweaks are not regulations, they're moral persuasions. They're talking about foreign currency debt borrowing at not higher than 4.5%. Now, let's talk about this. The LIBOR is going slightly upward. US Treasury is giving a positive outlook, which basically means that people did fixed income better earning than what they did in the West, would come here to an emerging market or the frontier market at 4.5%, which is roughly 4% above LIBOR. Because we don't have a sovereign bond, because we do not know what our country can borrow at, we can say so. If today we floated a sovereign bond, and that was priced at 5.5%, there would be no logic to say that do it at 4.5%, because your corporate cannot be less expensive than sovereign. So we are still at a bureaucratic level of trying to say whether we want to do it or not do it. Why am I harping on this is because I don't think we can reach the targeted goal of 10% growth without really putting in 30% of the investment of GDP on year for the next 5 years. If that doesn't happen, we won't reach there. But it's like when our previous cricket team chased 320 runs, we'd be very happy if they got all out at 270, not at 120. So we're aiming high, we're trying to get there, we're trying to reach there. The answer to that is reinvesting and redeploying. Where are our issues and where are our problems? We talk about infrastructure, serious issues. Roads. We still do not have a 4-lane between the port and where the business is. It's still under construction, but people tell me it's going to be a good 4-lane. We won't have speed breakers on those 4 lanes. By the time we do the 4-lane, I think the traffic is going to be good enough for a 6-lane. And I hope you have planned for those extra 2 lanes on the side. This is, I think, where we are going wrong. You know, we have something called a planning ministry, which India shut down a long time back. Because they realize that that creates the bureaucracy. And I'm not saying ours do. But are we thinking, are the lawmakers thinking, are the regulators thinking in this possible way? Where is the bottleneck? Power, electricity is a bottleneck. Getting a piece of land is also a great frustration when you look at foreign investors come in. We do not have land, that's our limited land. So what can we do right? We're trying to move out from the agricultural input to industrial and service inputs. Are we putting the industrial and service inputs right over? Now, there are a lot of questions onto those. I will again go back to the development story of how it happened. It happened because of 2 reasons. One is the entrepreneur class. Bengali entrepreneurs have great courage. Against all odds, they will take a calculated risk. You know, foreign investors talk to me and I say, look, this is a 4-year cycle, we are a democratic country, so 4 years after election, 1 year is total disruption. And we have bypasses today. You're voting by bypasses. I said, tell me, has there been a shipment missed? There are delayed shipments, but we have paid penalty for it. Has a single commitment of foreign currency been breached since the last 42 years? And there are many African countries, there is many Latin American countries who turn around and say, sorry, you can't pay. What about Greece? What about beautiful Greece? They turn around and say, sorry, we can't pay you back. Do what you want to do. And still investors go in there. Why not Bangladesh? We have great people, great talent, we have resources. I mean, when India started growing, the story was, in India you have a market and you have managers. Is there a lack of market and managers for us here in Bangladesh? Have you noticed the recent consumerism that is growing? Have you seen the number of retail outlets? I grew up in this area, Dhanmandi. I used to live in road number 2. And when I get into Dhanmandi, I'm trying to look here and there, I'm trying to recognize which point I'm in. Now this is 30 years back. I moved out of Dhanmandi in 1988, that's when I went off to Australia. It's not yet 30 years. But when I entered Dhanmandi, I'm very intrigued. That's my childhood. I used to cycle out here. My school was in Asad Gate. I used to live in road number 2. I know every lanes of Dhanmandi. Look at the development that is happening. Look at the number of shopping malls that has happened. Hey, if there was nobody buying, they would have died out. They would have not grown. No investment would have come in. So there is definitely a major push, a major power of consumerism happening in this country. But will consumerism alone take us there to our desired goal of what we're talking about? Is that growth engine so strong? Is the per capita going to go up so high for the spending to come through? You know what we are disillusioned is 2 things. I'll just go back to India because it's a very similar story. Before the 2 terms that Congress was in power, BJP was in power. And their slogan was India Shining. And they've done so much. The development really took off at that point of time in India. But they lost the election. Because the disparity when we compare seeing Dhaka city and Dhanmandi and Gulshan, there's a huge amount of disparity that has been created. So we're going to look at, does our consumerism allow us to grow at that speed? It will do a catch-up, but it will not. So coming back, to reach there, what we need is more investment, more jobs, more earning. And every story that I keep on saying about Bangladesh is a positive growth story. Coming back to where I was, the growth that you've seen in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, which led to where we are today, is because of the entrepreneurs of Bangladesh. And I want to salute them. I really want to salute them because under all odds, under all difficulties, they've gone in there. And there was another foolish class of people which propelled this growth. And that happened to be led by me, the bankers. We as a commercial bank thought that our role is of a development financial institution. And thank God we thought that. Because there was no DFIs in Bangladesh. Bangladesh Shipo Bank and Bangladesh Shipo Rin Samstha became defunct. So where did all this industry come through? And that's a growth story I want to say. In 1982-83, the first private banking license was issued. And 6 banks actually, dared to apply. They did not know what they are doing. And they were all entrepreneurs who went out to create the universities in a similar fashion. They didn't know what they were doing. Went to apply a banking license. And that started the first revolution of the growth of funding. All these entrepreneurs would have not been able to reach where they have reached unless there were some people who followed them around and believing in them and gave their money. So the commercial banks actually, generation-wise, the private commercial banks and the nationalized banks in the initial stage actually gave out the capital to do business in Bangladesh. Because debt equity ratios were ever 90-10 in those days, which means the owner gave 10% and the bank loan was 90%. Because of margin in those days, we survived. Today you survive because of efficiency. So the margins have disappeared. The margins are all gone. So you only survive other efficiency. And are we reaching that efficiency level is also another question for our growth. Will we reach the efficiency level is also another question for our growth. So in part of that, these two collaborated together and actually crossed the hurdle. Like they say, government should not be in business, they should be in governance, they should be the moderator, and they should clear the hurdles. I would not want to say much about that. I'm sure they have played their role, otherwise we would have not been here. But those are the challenges that we have to now look on. Coming back to basking on our glory, why have we stagnated out? Why can't we cross this 6.5 billion of growth? I mean, I hear a lot of experts say that naturally we have gone to 8. And we blame it to everything else. We blame it to the January, February, March disruption. We blame it to the November to February disruption. We keep on blaming on disruptions, which is true. Disruption is also a part. If you really look at the tourism industry, it gets totally destroyed in the last 2 years because our tourism season happens, domestic tourism I'm talking about, happens between November and February. And that is when we have political strikes with overalls and hotels and people don't go. But do you know how many new 5-star hotels have come out in Cox's Bazar in the last year? 3. They haven't abandoned their projects. And they're really, investment in each is not less than 350 to 400 crores. 3 new hotels. And we don't have an international airport. We're not going to have German tourists coming to Cox's Bazar. It's going to be domestic tourism. And how much of money that's going to propel out there in these 4 months is why they go in. Because their employment, there are casual workers, there are casual waiters, there are the foods get sold, the fishes get sold. There's activity. With all that activity is what you add to your GDP. So what we're looking at is activity. How do you propel activity? Unfortunate part again I come back to this word investment. Now, what is happening with investment? Let's talk about that. You know, we publicize statistics. Numbers are a very great game. You put it on the left, it looks different. You put it on the right, it looks better. We talk about FDI is coming in, how much of FDI is coming in what. We do not differentiate. How much of it is coming into the stock market, how much is coming into the debt market on a short term, and how much is it really coming into proper economic growth on a longer term period, which is the hardest form is called inflation. Is something for us to research and find out. But let us talk about domestic investment. The way to judge domestic investment is if you start taking a look at the growth of the LCs open for capital machinery. And that continued quarter on a declining trend. Except that in the last 2 quarters it has again gone up on the upward trend. Why it was on a declining trend, let me also explain. You know, there's a huge growth in that import of capital machinery when the power stations were coming in. So that propelled the growth up there. And then as all the power stations settled down, it started having a negative curve. So even local investments are not happening. So if you talk to local entrepreneurs, have they stopped making money? Have they stopped doing business? There are different numbers of views. One way of view is they're realizing it's time for us to move out, geographically out of the territory. Again, it's the regulatory condition that doesn't allow them. And I'll give you one example. In Sri Lanka, for whatever reasons, doctors love prescribing medicine which are made in Bangladesh. Because there are 2 sources, Bangladesh and India. For whatever reason, I don't know. They love prescribing medicines. So there's a huge export of medicine going in. And And there are pharmaceutical companies who want to go up and set up plant in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, for 3 to 4 years, those applications are lying in the central bank and they do not get permission. And what sort of numbers we are talking about? Let me give you one example. We are talking about $25 million on a reserve of $27 billion. Now what would this $25 million do? This $25 million would set up a factory in Sri Lanka, which is a Bangladeshi company. What would that do? 3 years later, that company will make profit and send back dividends. Will that dividend add back to your GDP? It's simple. Growth, not necessarily within your engine. So these are regulations that we need to talk about. A company like Pran Foods exports in small quantities to Middle East, Africa, and I'm amazed that they want to set up a factory in Indonesia. And I said, why the hell don't you do? We don't have Bangladeshi expatriates out there so much. He said, no, it's not Bangladeshi expatriate, it's food habits. So like noodles came into Bangladesh first time, noodle was not a part of rice, but it became food habit. So chanachur is becoming a food habit out there as a snack. So there is extreme potential for us to get in there. But statistics number-wise, the investment going back is not adding the number to GDP on a 10% growth rate. Even we will struggle on an 8% growth rate. So what should we now do? How do we get there? And I do not know what the policymakers are thinking, what the think tanks are thinking, but I would like to say something like, I don't think we should give up. We've got to move from a $1,300 to a $4,000 per capita income. To get me the definition, we are right now a lower middle income country. So our dream, our government's dream by 2021 to get in there is not a bad dream. It may be a bit of a struggle, but if you really look at a bottomless basket case of 72, since there, where have we come is something to recognize today, which is the foundation actually to move forward. On the social indicators, we have done extremely well. Mortality rate, child mortality rate, health. And when I keep on saying to people that we are far ahead of India, the Indians say, oh, that is not a standard to be measured by. Then what is the standard to be measured by? For everything else, India is the standard to be measured by. When we do something better than you, it's not a standard to be measured by. On the social indicator, what does the social indicator set? It sets the tone for your GDP growth. And we probably do not align it. Like, I was in a banking conference the other day and we were talking about risk management, and everybody says risk, we understand risk. And in a bank, we only talk about credit risk to be a risk. What is a credit risk? That when you lend money, the business fails and you don't get your money back. But there are 5 other strong pillars of risk that we do not want to even understand. And one of the biggest one that we fail to understand is called reputation risk. Because somebody someday told me that there is no reputation risk in Bangladesh. And I tend to agree now. I argued then. And I'll tell you the story why. When the World Cup came in 2011, I was being pushed to take the job of selling World Cup tickets. And I was refusing the Bangladesh Cricket Board. I said, I'm not going to do this nonsense. So some of the people in my board said, why are you refusing it? I said, can you imagine the reputation risk? What reputation risk? I said, people are going to queue up, they're not going to get tickets, they're going to break my windows, they're going to break my panes, and my banking business is going to totally affect out of those branches, and then the TV is going to show that police beating these people in front of my branches, and my signboard. And there's another way of looking at it, which I couldn't. I was myopic. The other way to look at it, can you imagine? Your bank sold the World Cup ticket. Will another World Cup come here? And people are going to forget about getting beaten up. It's true. So I was in all those branches we used to sell tickets. And I've seen people queuing up from 4 o'clock the afternoon before the day we started selling tickets. And the third person who walked into the branch was standing there, wanted his photo of 4 tickets of India-Bangladesh first game, World Cup that happened here. And the system said all sold. And that guy must have stood there since 3:30 that afternoon. This is the third guy into the branch. So he picked up something and broke the glass pane. And immediately my security came, hurled him around, and I said, stop. She said, who are you? I said, I work in this bank. And I'm wearing my suit and everything. So he abused me. I logically just think of it. He's the third guy into the branch and you say all stadium tickets sold. That is what is called mismanagement of our perceptions. And I'll explain to you why. I went to see the World Cup final in India, in Mumbai. And how they set the expectation tone, let me tell you this. It was in the press, it was in the internet, that for that day, Wankhede, which is a stadium with the capacity of 90,000 people, only 12,000 tickets are for public. Of which 5,000 are going to be sold on the internet. And 7,000 are of bank booths and stocks. So when you think of a 90,000 capacity and the third guy stepping in, and you say all tickets sold, it's perception. And I kept on telling the cricket board, why are you guys lying to people? They're breaking my bank. Why don't you say that you control the ticket on the back end and you stop it? People don't understand that. They say, no, we can't say that. It's also perception management of people. If you are transparent, if you see the truth, so the expectation game changes. But can I tell you one thing? Does anyone of you remember those scenes in the television where people were getting beaten up by police in front of a Citibank banner? Do you hate Citibank for that? You don't. So I was wrong. My board was right. In Bangladesh, there is nothing known as revolution risk. So when I talk to people in the risk business, they say, sir, no risk. 100% sure. So that is where we are also lacking the education part, because I'm coming from the social sector. And it's a great place to talk in front of. I dare not look here, I better walk back and talk to the students. It's a great place to talk to you. Because what you are learning, some of you are in business school, some of you are in liberal arts, but what you are learning is not to pass your exams. That's why I step back. All your teachers sitting in the front line. And you almost 3 years. This is a great learning organization. That if you excel, success follows. And that's what Bangladesh needs to do right now. Excel. You're going to excel in what you do and success will follow. You don't seem to agree with me, but that's all right. We all have opinions. End of the day, on the social indicators, I think Bangladesh has done very well. And I really would think so, because if you compare with Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, India, if you look at the social indicators of mortality rate, health and other things, in a poor country like us have done very well on that improvement path. What we need to do is on the economic side, on the economic side repeat. And I think we are doing great, guns, because we are going very well. I mean, a couple of indicators. Bangladesh was very scared to get international credit rating. We used to keep on pushing the central bank and the finance ministry for international credit rating, and they said, what do we need that for? No, we'll not open our books to foreigners. It was actually a fear. It was actually a fear of your weakness. It would come out and you would be politically criticized. Pardon me. For 5 years, we continue to hold the same rating. It's a great achievement by both Moody's and S&P. It's a great achievement. Next level, what we need is corporates to be rated by them. So what are we doing for bringing in foreign currency loans to Bangladesh to proper growth? Let's talk about that a bit. Pardon me. IFC, all of you must have heard of it. It's a World Bank affiliate on the commercial side called International Finance Corporation. IFC actually goes and develops a bond market. A bond market is a fixed income market where people invest on a risk and a return on a fixed income basis. So they went out and first did was on an IFC risk, which is a AAA rated risk, they guaranteed that credit and they raised ruble, Russian ruble, the first country. The second was Mexico, and I do not remember the name of the currency. Pesos. Is it peso? Okay. The third was China, yuan. The fourth was called the Masala Bond, which is the Indian rupee. And guess what? The fifth is going to be the Bangla Taka. Very small ticket size. We're starting with 100 million US. It's a billion US program, where IFC is going to raise internationally Taka bond, which means European investors are going to actually invest. The risk, credit risk, they're not taking on Bangladesh or the corporates of Bangladesh. That IFC is taking. They're taking an IFC credit risk, which is a AAA, which is probably what cost you 50 basis points to take that risk. Nobody pays more than 50 basis points on a AAA rated company in the United States of America. But it's European investors and American investors that are investing in to start the first ticket on $100 billion. The program is for $1 billion. And we are yet arguing and negotiating the benchmark pricing because there is no yield curve for a pricing. Once we can do this, the corporates have a future, provided the restriction regulations of the regulators are more practical, of actually raising takas overseas. This is a good time, a good weather where taka has been very, very stable with the dollar, and a 7-year risk, people are willing to take it. The other thing we don't have is a hedge product for which these risks can get difficult for foreign investors to come in. But imagine, for World Bank, to make the Bangladesh Taka international as the 5th country is also recognition for us. That's a great growth story for us. It was entangled and stuck in the bureaucracy of Ministry of Finance and Bangladesh Bank because they can't realize, what are we going to do with $100 million? Do we need it? When we go to argue that the IMF wants you to raise a sovereign bond, the argument is we have shortage of dollars, what will we do with dollars? And the counter argument is build roads, build bridges, build infrastructure. Then the third question comes, so how do we pay back? By raising another bond. That's how the world pays back. Fixed income, fixed bullet repayments are always by another bond. So immediately they suspiciously look at me and say, you're trying to find a business here. And I keep on telling them that my little company can't even get this. It'll be the Goldman Sachs of the world coming in, the Merrill Lynch of the world coming and taking to for a roadshow for a $5 billion. Not my little RS advisory. How do I make money out of that? We have been appointed as a co-advisor to the IFC Taka bond. And believe me, we probably get a $5,000 fees for it. And I've told my partner I don't want to encash this check. I want to frame it and keep it. It's going to be issued out of Washington, signed by the treasurer of World Bank. We can do without $5,000. Allah will. And I want to frame it and keep it in my office. It's the prestigious part of being in a small role as an advisor to the first Taka bond, which someday some researcher is going to write my little company's name, that they bought in the first Taka bond. So the question is, our outlook has got to change. So there is potential, there is propensity. And whenever I'm out on the street, I see two groups of very hungry people. The one group is the entrepreneur class, always thinking what more can be done. Do you really think for a lifestyle they need any more money? They don't. Then why do the entrepreneurs keep on building? For lifestyle, do they need any more money? What is lifestyle? Simple. Your BMW Sports or your Porsche your first class travel, and your $86,000 watch, and I don't want to talk about this fashion designers jewelry. But still, you don't need any more than that. Then why do entrepreneurs keep on creating, keep on creating? Because they want to, that's sort of they are intoxicated to keep on doing things. So I see that as a hungry group of people. And I see around a hungry group of people sitting out here. I see the youth. I see the amount of hunger inside to do something and to do it right. And these are the two combinations we need. So what is stopping us? Stopping us is actually regulatory rules and finances. You put that two together, and there's actually no stopping you. I mean, look at China today. They are making space for you to grow. China has decided onward that they are just going to move into the top level of the industry. China has produced their first commercial aircraft, which they are saying can be compared on a one-to-one basis with the Airbus 330. And which only not Chinese airlines are going to buy, which others are going to buy. Anybody willing to ride on that plane? First flight, maybe flight. No. Well, you get out a Bangladesh Biman 28-year-old DC-10 or 33-year-old DC-10. You know, when the DC-10 was going for his last ride to London, then to the museum, I was doing some work for Bima. And they said, would you like to be a part of this historic trip? I said, my father's best friend was a part of the historic trip in PIA, which was Karachi to Cairo, the first flight. And my father's very good friend. And he was on a historic trip. I don't want to get into this historic trip to London. By your DC-1030, which you have not flown for the last 4 months. And that plane could never go, it's still here.
Oh, really?
And it never went, never. So China, saying back to that, China has moved in. China has moved into that space, letting everybody else fill up the space in the bottom. We are no more in the bottom. The middle is coming out. So there's enough potential. You know, I have argued, let me tell you this story. You know, after the Rana Plaza collapse, that's why I'm saying, are we branding it on the left? Are we branding ourselves on the right? Where are we going wrong? When the Rana Plaza collapsed, I was actually in New York in an investors conference. And the New York Times, for 3 days, gave that historic picture, the emotional picture of a man holding a woman, both dead and rubbles and dust on them. And to the front page, it was not on the back frame, it was on the front page. I used to get a paper coming through my door, and the first thing I used to see that. And then when you go to an investors conference and you're doing great presentations to them and trying to hide behind the slides and say, we are a great country. I'll tell you the questions. I'll tell you the questions. Listen to them very carefully. And this we're doing a think tank, organized this, one of those think tank lobbyist group, they call themselves for Bangladesh, the organization. And there I was making a presentation on investment opportunities in Bangladesh, potential of investment in Bangladesh. And the questions coming. My God, 1,000 people dead. How do you think we will go back to your country and give orders? We don't want to wear dresses made out of blood. There's a lot of British investors sitting in there. I said, I understand. They said, you pay your laborers the cheapest in the country. And let me also tell you that. Our average wage was $146 then, which has gone up now slightly. Whereas Cambodia was 301, Vietnam 303, China 550, and India roughly 265. So I said, imagine if we paid our workers $550, China's rate, and every entrepreneur lost money. Who's Rana collapsed or not collapsed? So what did you question me about? And I said, why did we find mango t-shirts there? It's not a compliant factory. We have 5,856 factories in those days, out of which 3,230 were compliant. So how did mango get there? How did Jesse Benny get there? The story is very simple. Your merchandiser will squeeze for the last dime. And if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. But I came back and I was talking to the president of BGMA, which was Atik, and I said, Atik, you guys are such a rich institution, get lobbyist group out there. They bash the living daylights out of me. Even in UK. And UK said even worse things, because I was in a very small discussion group. I said, listen, don't buy from Bangladesh. Half of the Londoners are walking you in the street. Because what's going to happen to your £1 store? What's that called? Right on the Bond Street corner. Pramac. I've tried entering Pramac one day. You have a line queue to enter it. Once you have entered it, because they have a given count of how many people are allowed in the store. I thought a sale is going on. There's no sale, it's a normal day. And then there's a huge queue in front of the cashier. And I'm thinking these must be all immigrants, brown people buying. No, it's all Brits on the line on the queue. And 80% of those product labels are made in Bangladesh. Because they're £5, they're £7, they're £9. And probably they're bought from Bangladesh at £3 a dozen and sold per piece at £5 or £7. So I said, if you stop buying from Bangladesh. Like once Kuwait decided to turn out every Bangladeshi out of Kuwait because they're creating law and order problem. So the answer was, yeah, but then your bathrooms are never going to be cleaned. Because every sweeper in Kuwait is a Bangladeshi. So what's going to happen to your public toilets? They're never going to be cleaned by anything. So end of the day, the world needs us. How do we exploit this need and translate into business? I've been going on, and like I said, I'm telling you a story of what I've seen. I would like to now come to a point where I'd like to say that to conclude, it's very, very simple what I said all over. We have the potential. The world needs us. We just don't need any speed bumps and speed breakers stopping us. Political climate will continue. Let's take that for granted and given. It's a democratic country. You cannot wish to say that all opposition shut up for the good of the country if that doesn't happen. We will work within that. I think the two areas, I think where the government is focusing very correctly. The one area which never took up is PPP. That was a very, very important area to come, which the government is trying very hard. And I talk to World Bank people and say, why does the PPP work in Bangladesh? They said, you've got everything correct, but you don't have the will to do it. That's the World Bank view. So I think it's going to happen. I think they're moving forward. I think it's going to be a cricket match to score a 341 to win. We'll reach 320 or 305 or 297. And I'd still like to clap for my team end of that day because we fought hard to do it. I would say that in 2 years' time, if all the ifs are right, we would break through the 7% barrier. And that's the breaking point. You know, like the oil petroleum, they say, they've broken the $100 mark, it's going to hit the 150, or they've come below the $50 mark, it's going to come to $30. Our breaking point, I think, is that 7%. And once we achieve that 7%, I think the going is good. I think I'm crossing my allocated time. I would also like to have questions from the audience, from my respected teachers sitting out here, from the students of ULab, and from the visitors, whoever has come in to see. I can only see 2 persons out here. Is your office in London? Oh, you're a meeting in London. I know, you can't get out of that. So I would like to open it up, and your Vice Chancellor, Mr. Imran Rahman, did tell me to talk at least 10 minutes about careers, which I couldn't put it in. So I'll open the floor to question and answer. I'm not moderating, I'll stand up here. And if you want to ask me about career or anything, I'm also here happy to answer that.
Well, a big round of applause for this round. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Sattar spoke about entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurs the key role chilo so far in the growth story, but business people. About future, তাদের রোলটা আরো বেশি হবে. He spoke about that maybe you can ask him যে finance and banking sector নতুন কি opportunities আসবে. কারণ এখন কিন্তু বাংলাদেশে if you compare আরেকটা দেশ, let's say ইন্ডিয়া, চায়না, সিঙ্গাপুর, ওইখানে ফাইন্যান্স এন্ড ব্যাংকিং এ যেসব চাকরি বাকরি আছে বাংলাদেশে কিন্তু সব এখনো আসেনি। তো কিছু কিছু নতুন এক্সাইটিং অপরচুনিটিস আসবে, you might want to ask them about that. I like the fact that our outlook needs to change. We need to think big, we need to be a bit more brave. আমরা কিন্তু নিজেদেরকে আন্ডারসেল করছি মনে হচ্ছে কথা শুনে, right? So maybe some of you thinking, hey, to hell with it, I'll pass my BBA degree and then go to Singapore for look for a job, or even to China. Why not? Because you can take them on, I tell you. So you can also ask him about anything else you want, his personal journey. So Bangla, English, jeta hok na keno, please. Who's going to be the first person? KG, oh, you can actually.
Thank you. This question is not related to banking, but you have just mentioned that entrepreneurship is a very important part of developing the country. So in a blog that I was reading yesterday, BBA, the degree BBA, was termed mother of all degrees right now in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh. But I was also reading something else, that university, this is related to education and career. So the university which held an entrepreneurship degree or a business degree, instead of having internships or finishing the degree with a research, their component was that you have to build, you have to at least start a business plan and present it to implement it to your life and the society. Do you think this kind of entrepreneurship incorporated into university degrees would help advance the country in the right way? Thank you.
ধন্যবাদ। আপনার প্রশ্নটা আমি বাংলা ইংরেজি মিশিয়ে বলি, because I switched from Bangla and Ekwator. So I'm trying to cover up for that now. Entrepreneurship is your growth. So, we talk about SME, SM, CAM. These are the growth engines that happens in an economy. There are a lot of, when you do your BBA or when you do your MBA, especially if you're from a business school, they're telling you to go and do an internship in a corporate. Why? কি কারণটা কি? কারণটা হচ্ছে এই যে ইউনিভার্সিটির এই লাইফটা, এই যে সিঁড়িদের উপরে বসে থাকা, সিঙ্গারা খাওয়া, আড্ডা মারা, ক্লাস বাঙ্ক করা, it is a tremendously contrasting life in that world. আমার ম্যানেজমেন্ট ট্রেনিং এসে কমপ্লিট করলো, স্যার আমার প্রমোশন হলো না স্যার। তো এই অ্যাটিটিউডটা যেটা থাকে সেটা হচ্ছে আমরা 3 থেকে 4 অ্যাকশন করবো, 4 থেকে 5 অ্যাকশন করবো, 5 থেকে 6 অ্যাকশন করবো। পরীক্ষায় যদি আমার বন্ধু সাথে প্রিপেয়ার না হয়, আস্তে খাতাটা মানে দেখাই দিয়ে শুধু চিঠির অবস্থা পাস করে দেবে। The competitiveness is there but not there. ও যে ফার্স্ট হয় ও কিন্তু কিছু দেখায় না, যে সেকেন্ড হয়। So that word prepares you, that 3 months prepares you to expect the shocks. Now, let me come up to the concept you have given. It's a brilliant concept, I cannot body. আমি একটা defeated project called the Challenge Fund, and it's a trust board and I'm a board member there. And DFA পয়সাটা দিয়েছে to give away, not take it back. So they only finance great, bright ideas. Viability কেউ দেখতে পারে না। তো সবাই প্রশ্ন করে, না এটা তো রিস্কি প্রজেক্ট, এটা তো টাকা ফেরত আসবে না। 90% ভাই টাকা ফেরত কোনোদিনই আসার কথা না। 10টা প্রজেক্ট করে যদি 2টো সাকসেসফুল হয়, we'll get a tick mark from defeat. So I think you have a brilliant idea, but models এই জিনিসগুলো দেখানো কিন্তু অনেক সহজ। তাহলে I would like to suggest a little further and say the internship program 3 বছর হওয়া উচিত। You set your model, go start the business, we'll get a challenge fund to find you. 3 বছর পরে if you fail, you don't get your degree. How about that? Because I'll tell you why. Putting it into a model is a great concept. To see it through, কারণ there is a huge amount of risks involved from a design to a daily life. It's a good idea. But don't force everybody to do it. Some people want to not do that.
Thank you. It was a wonderful speech by you. So I have actually two questions. One behalf of my students and one about the banking sector. The first one is, আমরা প্রায়ই শুনি যে আপনার বিজনেস করতে আমাদের এন্টারপ্রেনার বলতে you need only ideas. You don't hardly need any money. আর ছাত্রদের প্রায়ই এসে কোশ্চেন করে। When I started my own business when I was very young, I didn't really need any money. I managed it. আমি আসলে যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছি যে আপনি যদি ছাত্রদেরকে ক্লিয়ার করে দেন, even a good idea, great idea can actually make them successful in their life. And the second question is, how do you evaluate the current interest rate of the banking sector in interest rate in terms of investment? আমাদের ইনভেস্টমেন্টের জন্য খুব ডিফিকাল্ট না, আপনার কি মনে হয়?
Okay. On your question one, I'll take. And question one, you all keep on saying that Bill Gates started out of where? How much dollars did he put in? Steve Jobs started out of where? How much dollars did he put in? Actually, you need a bright idea, that's true. You need a competitive, bright idea which can be translated into bits of action to come to a business. আমাদের অনেক ব্রাইট আইডিয়া আসে তারপরে আর শেষ করতে পারি না because I can't translate them into business. One, bright ideas তো পিছনে পয়সা লাগে না? To do some activity you need money. Unfortunately, আমাদের দেশে the Silicon Valley Venture Capitalist Fund এখনো আসেনি. We have it, but we don't. What I'm working on is a challenge fund, is a model to prove to the commercial people, defeated টাকা নিয়ে, যে আসলে bright idea finance করে, you can do it. But defeat is a very good program. They say put your money where your mouth is. যা cost budget দিবা তার 50% defeat দিবা, 50% তোমাকে দিতে হবে. So cut your clothes according to your means. What this project is going to do, if out of 10, 4 are successful, we're going to get the commercial people to come and say do it. And do that, but watch the space. Bangladesh কিন্তু software industry অনেক হাবুডুবু উঠে কিছু করতে পারলো না. But have you seen the apps industry, what they're going? Daily Fresh, Dal Chal. Look at it go. Convenience for people paying. Shohoj. But we haven't yet gone into that space of transacting money. But I'm not just dekte chai. Flipkart wanted to compete with Amazon in India. So Flipkart started off in saying that we'll deliver it to your home, you pay us cash. Just to beat Amazon. Because people want to see, they will go, this is not. So now Flipkart is realizing that's an expensive model, which Hungry Naki started here. And Hungry Naki into food vendor slightly disappearing out. Your second question so you need ideas and you need to convince a group of entrepreneurs, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs sitting out there, private entrepreneurs, who are willing now, because valuation like your Vice Chancellor said, there are a lot of things that have not come in this country. Valuation of your business. I mean, a company called Bikash. 3 বছর আগে, Bikash got valued at $300 million and they were losing 40 crores every year. They're losing money, but they're valued at $300 million. So valuation will have a kotha asche. Bright ideas will be financed by people, not by commercial banks. They cannot in the business of losing money. Coming back to your second question, interest. And as a teacher, as a professor, you know what we are taught, what are the interest elements. Interest element is your cost of money, your risk, your inflation. So if your country's inflation is 9%, would you dream of a single digit? You can't. The game is very chicken and egg. You get it down to single digit and inflation goes back to double digit. Because money gets cheap, people start spending, they don't save. So automatically inflation goes to double digit. Is it tough? The main question, is it tough to do business at these interest rates? Of course it's tough. Isn't it tough for the rentals in Bangladesh? Why doesn't anybody talk about the rentals? Retail Bangladesh hote pare na keno, rental. Unthinkable rentals. But I don't see a group talking about building owners rental. We only talk about bank interest rate because bank is a lovely thing to be bashed. And globally it gets bashed. And I'm no more a banker, so I sort of look at Rahil Ahmed, the deputy manager of Prime Bank, and say, "You Jew? You shoot code?" It's a nice thing. Have you guys ever said that for the rental Bangladeshe urban spot retail ব্যবসা grow করতে পারে না? What's the rental? 250 টাকা per square feet. It's an impossible rental. স্যার আপনি প্রশ্ন করবেন? নারাজ হয়ে গেল। আমি তো আপনার ক্লাসে উত্তর দিতে পারতাম না। He's my teacher.
Okay, I'm very proud actually to be here. My name is Professor Shamsul Haq, and both Imran and Mahmood used to be my student at IBA. And I think you all know that many of our students are basically in leading position. And that is why I think is one of the points that I would like to make is why our MBA has really succeeded in doing many things, changing many things, but we couldn't really change the country as a whole. When I was a student of a PhD program at Manchester Business School, there was my supervisor, and he's a very renowned professor of economics, Douglas Haig. I don't know, by the time Imran joined, he might have left actually. So I asked him, I read his book while I was a student of MCOM at Russia University, Storier and Haig. There was a textbook. So I told you, how come such a big professor like you are teaching managerial economics in this business school? His honest answer was this. See, before I joined this business school, he was a renowned economist in Britain. That I didn't know that economics could be of any practical use. That economics could be of any practical use before he joined the business school. So that is what actually I think is part of our society's problem, that in our country economists many of them are in the leading positions in the government and also in many other businesses. They do not have the courage, they do not want to take the risk of certain actions which they don't feel comfortable. Actually, I will give my own experience. Actually, in 2003, I think it was Mr. Saifur Rahman was the finance minister, and we are in a seminar talking about this exchange rate liberalization and all these things. I think at that time our reserve was perhaps 5 billion, or it was on a rising view. I said, well, let's make these things free, open it up. Oh, if it is open it up, everybody will take outside the country. Okay, now only 3 months back, another of our MBA, Mamun Rashid, he organized a talk show like this, and there are all economists from government as well as Bangladesh Bank former governors. I told them that now we have a $26 billion reserve, and every year we are getting $15 billion, and which is growing at the rate of 7%. You apply any discounted cash flow model, it will say that this $15 billion up to 50 years or so, it will grow up to $300 billion at this rate, because it is like a dividend. So you should really, now it is time that we should free the exchange rate, make it open. Oh, so then there are all these official economic issues planning. So well, if you open it up, then it will appreciate. That's true, it will appreciate. So what's wrong? It will appreciate. The exporters will suffer a little bit, but rest of the country will get many good things at cheaper prices. So this is one kind of a problem that I see that in our decision-making framework, these economists who are by profession basically risk-averse, they do not want to expose themselves to this. So that is one of my experience of dealing on understanding why things do not happen here. I think on that, basically what this image problem or the branding problem, my feeling is that we are as a nation, we are very, as you said, the mild nation. We are basically very accommodative in this part of the globe. But somehow, in the field of politics, we use very harsh and a kind of a strong language that will finish this other party. There will be no more another party. There will be Like one of our former president, when his party came to power, he said, well, this other party will not be able to come to power in next 40 years. And then after next, even after 1 year, he was even thrown out of the president's house. So this rhetoric, strong use of this strong rhetoric is actually getting into the branding image of the Bangladesh, that these are, what is the politician says such strong words, that there will be nobody will be able to do anything with us. So these are my feeling, that we should tone down our rhetorics and accommodate others' viewpoints, because the nation will grow, it is growing and it will continue to grow, provided we really soften out these harsh words and abusive words for others. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I very much like to agree with him. If you see today Shurajit Shenmukta's statement in the free press, he's going to ban DIP. Even the Prime Minister will not have the authority to do anything like that. He's saying in front of the Prime Minister. I think we are a tolerant nation, but we are an intolerant bunch of politicians. And I think rhetoric makes us psychopathic, the other, and makes somebody else happy. So this is something I think is a very important point where our branding gets affected. Because people do take them seriously, which you and the others in Bangladesh maybe don't. But in the Western world they take this very seriously. I mean, Transparency International, we are telling us that you're going to ban anybody who criticizes me. So press, media, everything shut. And yet you are not China, so we shall not come to you. Any more questions?
Yeah. Thank you so much again. Final round of applause. Thank you. Maybe the students have to go back to their classes, but this has been a really eye-opening discourse by my friend Mahmood. So thank you. I just have one last thing to do, which is to hand over a little crest for our show of appreciation for coming all the way. It's like coming to another city actually. Coming from Gulshan to Dhanmondi is actually, you can reach international destinations. So
thank you very much. I just want to say thank you very much for listening to me. It's a difficult thing sitting and listening on one-way traffic. I also like to thank the University of Liberal Arts Bangladesh and the Center and the Dean of the Business and the Vice Chancellor, the Pro-Vice Chancellor and the organizers for inviting me in today. It was a great opportunity, it's a great refresher. I keep on telling to Imran, yes, I love doing this because I love talking to people, but I've never made it. It's my first trip, but I'm sure you will come back. Thank you very much.